And welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review. We have an extra face here today. If you can't tell, the one and only Steve Mason has joined us. We had multiple hard maybes, hard yeses.
Yes, hard maybes. This was a hard yes. So I was in for today, no question.
Yeah, you were in for today, except you came in right at 9:30. Didn't want to come in a couple minutes early and just, kind of chat it up with Marcus, me, and Parker. You wanted to just come at the very diva-ish.
Seriously, dude, I was in bed 15 minutes ago. I am just this. I do not work this early, so no. I'm sorry I was late for the pre-meeting, the pre-show meeting.
I do appreciate you coming on, though. Thanks, man.
Yes, it's an honor to have you here with the Blue Review. Of course, we have Greg Bergman up top, myself, Parker Bell, Marcus Grant with us, and like I mentioned, the great Steve Mason, the Hall of Famer Steve Mason, joins us on the Blue Review to talk some Dodgers. So I know we've never had this many people on here, so we're just going to get right into it so that we're not short on time. Greg, everybody, I know that you wanted to get into this first, and I felt that it was very meaningful, especially having you on the show, Mace. The Dodgers renew the contract of Andrew Toles. Greg, go ahead and get into that and we can all kind of react.
So I think it's a really important thing. I actually love this. Happens every year right around this time. The Dodgers renew Andrew Toles' contract. He hasn't even played for the Dodgers since 2018, but because of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, they are continuing to renew his contract every single year. And I think that's just a really classy thing by the Dodgers and has to be kind of talked about as much as possible because not every team would do that. And the fact that they are doing that for a guy that didn't really even play that much for the Dodgers is a really big deal. And I know this is kind of something for you, Mace, that actually kind of resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'm working with the LA County Department of Mental Health. I've had mental health challenges, ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. What he's suffering from, schizophrenia, is really difficult to deal with, and God bless him and wish him well on his journey, on his mental health journey. The Dodgers, I think, send a message by doing this that they care about their players. I mean, I don't think this falls on deaf ears. I think when people around the league hear this story and know this story, they think, wow, the Dodgers really take care of their own. And if I'm a free agent and I'm looking around and looking at teams to potentially sign with or to play for, one of the things that you know about or you learn about is how much an organization actually cares about its players. And I think this is a big message that the Dodgers send to the rest of the league, in addition to doing the right thing and helping this guy.
Yeah, and Marcus, what were your initial thoughts on just seeing this? Obviously, he hasn't played since 2018, but just seeing them continue to care for mental health, it just felt like such an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I echo everything that Mace just said there. And I think there's, I think just even from the human standpoint of it, right? I mean, we look at this, whether it's baseball, whatever sport it is, so much as a business. And sometimes I think players sort of get treated as widgets, right? As a line on a spreadsheet, a line item sort of thing. And so this sort of gesture, I think, reminds us that there is a human part of it. And I mean, you guys know this. I mean, having worked in sports media and working around athletes, that when you see them up close and personal, you start to remember again that they are people and that they go through sort of everyday struggles, that maybe their paychecks are larger than the average person, but there's still a human element to it. And so I think this is sort of a nice reminder that, hey, look, it's okay for us to sort of take care of each other when we are struggling. And I think the Dodgers are going a long way to try to take care of a guy who was one of their own. You mentioned it, Greg. He didn't play a ton for the Dodgers. He was never a superstar for them, but he was in the family, and the fact that they still treat him like part of the family, I think, is a wonderful gesture.
So, we mentioned the everyday struggles. I think this is a decent segue. Again, just shout out to the Dodgers for doing such a great thing. That's amazing. And I know this is going to sound very sad to segue into, but Gavin Lux, Mace.
Excellent segue.
Wow.
Excellent segue. Wow.
I knew where you were going, but I didn't know it was actually.
Well, and here's the funny thing. So, Mason, obviously, you said you've been doing work with the LA County Department of Mental Health, and I was actually editing your recent video for this week, and Gavin Lux caught a stray shot.
Was it really a stray shot?
Did you really in your mindful minute, Migs?
No, what I did was I said that, I had a rough couple of weeks there, and I called it an emotional slump. And I talked about how athletes go through slumps, whether it's a hitting slump or a shooting slump, or in the case of Gavin Lux, a defensive slump. So I don't think that was necessarily a stray. It's not really been a secret that he's struggled defensively so far this spring, right?
No, not at all.
We've talked about it multiple times on this show in the last week or two. So.
It's very much as the Lux turns around here. So we talk about him whenever he does anything. So you're not far off.
Yes, not a stray, but it was funny just to hear, and I thought that yes, he is going through some yips, as we might call it, just struggles defensively. Mace, what were your initial thoughts on seeing Mookie move over to short? He seems excited. But as a Dodgers fan and as a Dodgers follower, are you as excited as Mookie is to see him as an everyday shortstop?
Well, I mean, I think Mookie can obviously handle the position defensively. I think you could put him anywhere on the diamond, and he would be effective and solid defensively. Gavin Lux, that has got to be the shortest. That was a very short leash, and it was a short leash because he was absolutely a butcher out there. And the throwing is really the issue more than anything. To bump him over to second, and I guess he played do I have this right? He played a clean game yesterday. We had it on during the show, but it looked like he played a clean game yesterday.
I don't think anything actually went to him yesterday. Yes, it was clean. In that sense, sure, it was definitely clean.
But I'm anticipating that Gavin Lux is probably going to get the start at second in Seoul. I mean, that was the last preseason or spring training game before they leave to open the season. So I think Gavin Lux will be the second baseman. How long he'll be there, I don't know. My preference is if he can't handle the position defensively, even though he might be a bit of a dead spot in the lineup, I would like to see Miguel Rojas play his natural position and play at shortstop on a more regular basis and have Mookie move back to second. But at this moment, I think Gavin is going to be the second base starter when they tee up in, a week or so.
So I was watching a couple of Gavin Lux highlights before we went on to the Blue Review and just seeing what he's done at second base since he's been moved over there. And the throws from second aren't even good. I mean, he's bouncing balls in the hole. It's really when he turns double plays too. He just can't make that long of a throw. I don't know what it is. So for a guy that was a shortstop, to be able to not be able to make a throw from that deep, it just makes it tough for me. If he's going to consistently bounce balls on double play balls or even just in the middle of the field, it's going to be a problem. So your solution, I tend to agree with it, but I also want to kind of see Mookie as the shortstop every day from now on. I think that he's going to be as good as he can be, very good at the position defensively. It's going to pick up. It's not going to happen immediately, but if you let him be the shortstop for the rest of the year, I think he could very well become Gold Glove caliber because he's that good of an athlete. That's just my preference, at least.
I mean, at this point, though, it's definitely mental, right? With Gavin Lux, I think we're sort of agreed on that because I don't think it's a physical issue. And it becomes an issue for the Dodgers of what long term is the solution. If you can't have him out on the field, if you can't put him in the lineup, what do you eventually do with Gavin Lux? Maybe it is a Miguel Rojas situation at some point that he comes in and starts getting some more innings there. But you still have to figure out how to solve this problem with a guy that you were hoping would be one of the pillars of this team for a number of years to come. And right now it's a major setback. Now it's not, I don't think it's insurmountable. But we went from this time last week or 2 weeks ago with Dave Roberts saying, I'm not concerned, to all of a sudden, Mookie Betts is now the shortstop. And we're having a conversation about whether Gavin Lux belongs in the lineup at all. As Ron Burgundy would say, things escalated quickly with Gavin Lux,
Yeah.
So
it's going to be to the point. Like if you have to move him down, if you don't put him in the lineup, it's a situation where, to me, you move him. I don't think there's space for him on this team anymore. And with what they need to get to, with how much pressure's on Doc, with how much pressure's on just the team in general, having a dead spot in the field, especially in the middle of the infield, that's not something that can happen. If he's just going to be on, you can't DH him. You can't have him even if he's just hitting singles and his slug is a singles, he's batting 310, or it was as before the game yesterday at least. So let's say he's batting 300 and his slug is 300. That's a problem too. You need more from him. You need something out of his bat if you're going to make up for the defense. It's not there. So if he doesn't do it, I think he should be off the team, moving him to somewhere else.
Do we all agree though he's going to start at second base in Seoul?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Unless, they have two like warm-up games, right? They got the Kiwoom Heroes, and then they have the Korean national team. If he messes up in there, no, I think he's not starting.
So then what do they do? If you don't think he's starting, where do they go?
Mookie at short, and Kike at second, Rojas at second, Taylor at second.
Yep.
You kind of hodgepodge that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think that's kind of what it's got to be. Kike has done it, but I don't think we trust Kike every single day at short, second, or really anywhere. As a guy that moves around, fine. But I think what makes the most sense is putting Rojas at short and Mookie back to second. That makes the most sense if you can just plug and play at that point.
Yeah. So guys, Lux, he's been brought up every episode, and for a valid reason. But someone who has not been mentioned, and Greg, you wanted to talk about this guy, and I understand why. Teoscar Hernandez, completely under the radar. Obviously, he's not Shohei, he's not Yamamoto, so we're not hearing his name, but he's been absolutely raking this spring training. Marcus, what are your thoughts just on how he's been playing so far and how he can impact the Dodgers moving forward?
It's going to be awesome. The question becomes, where do you fit him into the lineup on a regular basis? I think that may be the problem. That's a good problem to have if you're trying to find a spot in the lineup for the guy. But the fact that you have another another bat potentially come off the bench if you need to, a guy who can give you some platoon innings. Here we are. We're sitting here playing, musical chairs, playing sort of Jenga with the infield right now, trying to figure out where to put guys. If you have another piece that you can sort of use, a chess piece to move around to different places and free you up, give you a little bit more roster flexibility. I'll say that this is the thing the Dodgers have done well the last few years, is that they have played. If there's a thing called positionless baseball, if that exists, I think the Dodgers have sort of achieved it with the number of guys who can play in different places. And so having another guy like Hernandez who can swing the bat effectively, that allows you just one more piece, allows you a little bit more roster flexibility in the event that something goes, you have an injury, somebody hits a major slump, something just kind of goes sideways. I think that's just nothing but positives right there.
Yeah, what's interesting is where's he bat in the lineup? He's probably your 6 hitter, maybe your 7 hitter, and to have a guy who is as accomplished as a hitter that deep into the lineup, I think just speaks to the strength and the depth of this Dodgers team. I think he's going to have a monster year. Plus he's on, they're so smart. 1 year and $24 million, I think was the contract. Yeah. It's basically I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove I'm worth a multi-year deal. I want to go somewhere where I can win and make a name for myself. And then I'm going to go ahead and get paid big next year. I think he's in position to have a really, really big year. And when you think about him batting 6th or batting 7th, it's like, damn, they are good.
Yeah, it's just kind of amazing too. You're right. He's an all-star. He's been an all-star before. And in spring, I get it, just spring, but he's batting over 400. He has 3 or 4 doubles. He has a home run. He's just raking, and nobody's talking about it in the slightest because his name's not Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman. If this guy is going to be hitting the way that he's hitting in spring, in the 6th, 7th, or wherever he is in the lineup, that just lengthens your lineup so much more. And I think, I think before he was actually offered multi-year deals from a couple different places, but he wanted to be here. So it sounds like, I'm going to come here, show you how good I really am, win a World Series, and then get all the money. So you're spot on with that.
Yeah, and even though last year was a bit of an off year for him, compared to just like the rest of the league, it was still average. So even if he's having a bad year, he still impacts this team in a positive way. We have about 10 minutes left here, guys. So kind of wanted to check in with
10
the
minutes
chat.
left? How long is this show?
It's a live 30-minute show, 25. Show.
Damn.
Well, Mace, I'm sorry, but checking in with the chat, they want you in once a week.
Oh, is that right? Wow. Wow.
It's good
Well,
good to want
I'll
things.
do it once we get into games. I mean, I'm totally up for doing it.
Yeah,
At
we would love to
9:30?
have you. Yeah.
You'll roll out of bed and come here at 9:30.
Roll out of bed, put on a ball cap and a hoodie, and let's roll. Let's ride, as Russell Wilson would say.
Oh God, that guy.
Oh
Let's
man. So
ride.
looking at the chat, we have, let's see, let's look at Mr. Classic. Kind of brings it back to Gavin. I know he was talking Lux to Kirsten Watson after his little few innings he played the other day, and he was basically saying that he feels fine, that he's feeling better on the field, nothing's wrong. Uh, is this cause for concern? The fact that he is just kind of blowing off the struggles, that he's just acting like everything's fine, or is that a decent coping factor? I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know how you handle it if you're Gavin Lux. You know you're struggling. The world knows you're struggling. Do you talk about it? Do you not talk about it? Does talking about it get into your head even more? Does being asked about it get into your head even more? I mean, he's in a really interesting spot. I think probably not engaging in it is the best thing. I would think, he's in his head. He's thinking too much. The last thing he wants to do is think about this. So by sort of blowing it off a little bit, as you put it, with reporters, I think it's a way for him to avoid talking about it and avoid getting it dug deeper into his brain.
Yeah, I think this is like a fan thing. I think as fans, we want to know that the athlete feels it the same way emotionally that maybe we do. And I don't know that works. I mean, I can't speak to being a professional athlete, but I do think some of what Mace is saying is true, is that you can't spend all this time in your own head thinking about it, dwelling on it. And I just think being asked about it over and over again is probably as frustrating as his struggles on the field themselves. So I get it. I think the fans want to see him sort of, just really upset and emotional and angry about it. But I just think, in order to do this every day, it's not the NFL where you play once a week, right? You're out there every single day. And I think you just kind of have to try and stay even. You can't be too up and too down. And I think that's kind of what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's what he is doing. He should be doing. I mean, you want to show yourself with confidence that you're not thinking about that. He just knows that it's going to get better, and that's what he wants to project for himself, and that's a good thing. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I actually kind of like that he's not going to be like, yeah, I can't throw the ball to first base. I don't know what's going on. This is a problem.
It's not news to him.
Right.
I mean, he knows he's struggling.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Can we talk about Yamamoto just a little bit too, and how he's been in this spring training? He's been kind of getting hit up a little bit this spring. He gave up 8 hits yesterday, 4 runs. He did have the 7 Ks, which are nice, but he also got hit up a little bit in in his last outing before that. So are you, either of you, any of you, Parker, anybody, worried about Yamamoto right now?
Well, I'll say for me, going to spring training and talking to pitchers, a lot of pitchers will say they're working on something as they're going. I'm trying this pitch in this situation, even though I know it may not be the pitch that gets me an out right now. It's spring training, and I want to experiment with some stuff. He's got multiple pitches. Where's he throwing that curveball? Where's he throwing that fastball? Where's he throwing that split? I think he may be playing with sort of the sequence, although that's a lot of hits to give up. He struck out the side yesterday, and then, as you mentioned, gave up 8 hits. I mean, I guess I want to see what it looks like in a real game. I hope he was just working on some stuff and trying some pitches in different situations, but I still am. I've not sailed, obviously, on Yamamoto. I think he's going to have a great season. I think he's going to settle in.
And the thing you and I talked about before the show, Greg, is that he's giving up hits, but he hasn't really been hit hard. Right. It's been a lot of singles. I think in that last start, he gave up a double or something like that. But even that, I think, was that ball that sort of took a weird hop on Muncy at third base. So, if he were giving up shots that were, kissing the wall and just rockets in the gap, I think I'd be really panicked. The 8 hits is definitely a lot, but I think the fact that he's not giving up a lot of solid contact and he is still getting a lot of swings and misses, I think that's hopeful. Curious to see, especially early in the year, how long Roberts will air him out. We'll let him go through. This is a team that's built for October, and so do you want to let him go deep into games in September. We saw guys throwing no hitters, and Roberts is coming to the mound making moves. So like, how long are they going to let him air out early in the season to try to work through some of this stuff? That to me is a curiosity.
Yeah. So so yesterday, those 8 hits, it was 7 singles and 1 double. And so, but there were the 7 Ks. He did have a walk. That's what plagued him in the outing before. He had 3 walks and he was giving a bunch of singles, everything to the left side. And Gavin Lux and Max Muncy were booting everything and couldn't get anything to first base. So, but I'm not worried about him. I just know that it can start getting, when you start giving those singles and it's like 4 or 5 singles in a row and they just keep hitting you, that might become a little bit of a problem. But I trust Mark Pryor. I trust this team to kind of figure it out and try to get him to where he needs to be. It very much could be what you're saying, Mason. He was just trying sequencing and trying different pitches out to see what are his out pitches. That splitters seems to be his out pitch. And as Austin Barnes said earlier in the spring, he said, you don't want to go to it too often because then you get seen. So hopefully it's just that kind of thing.
But it's filthy.
It is.
When it's working,
the curveball is beautiful too.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned 12-6 curveball, 74 miles an hour, just freezes guys.
Yeah, we reposted it on the ESPN Los Angeles page just because we were sitting back here in the back studio, loving the movement. And I think what you guys all hit on was extremely correct. And I mean, the chat kind of agrees. It's like he has the stuff, figuring out the nuances of here in the baseball out here in America can be maybe take a little time. He's got high expectations.
Extremely correct is better than just correct, right?
Yeah.
Extremely correct.
It's like 1,010%.
Adding that modifier, man, it makes a big difference, you know?
That's right. Speaking of pitching, though, real quick, I mean, we have a few minutes. Dylan Cease of the Padres, real quick, initial reactions. I mean, are we league shaking or are we feeling fine about it? What are we thinking, Mace?
I mean, I think they probably punch their tickets to the playoff if he has a solid year. I mean, it was a little bit off last year, Dylan Cease, but they get him and they get him at a really good price. They may not be able to keep him at the end of this year because his deal is up. But I think if you think about Darvish, Musgrove, and then Cease in some order, that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3 in a rotation.
I mean, they basically moved on to right-handed Blake Snell, right?
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what they got is right-handed Blake Snell. The thing about the Padres that, as a Dodger fan, scares me is that last year they were shockingly bad in one-run games, and that feels like an anomaly. Like that feels like one of those things that can fluctuate from year to year. So you take some of those one-run losses that they had, and you start to flip them the other way. And this team, I think, becomes a legitimate competitor in the division this year.
Yeah, I actually really like this Dylan Cease. I think they did a great job. I would have loved the Dodgers to get him. I was really, really high in him. Like May said, he had a down year last year, was kind of giving up a little bit more, but he's still in arbitration. He's still under team control through the end of this year. I just think he has really, really great stuff. 2 years ago, he was putting up zeros basically every game, or as a 1. He's a very good pitcher, and I think that's a great pickup by the Padres, as much as I hate to say that.
But I will say that I'm extremely not afraid of the Padres this year. Extremely not afraid.
Not at
I think we beat them by 10 games.
Easy.
Anybody in the division that does scare you?
Arizona probably is the sneaky one. I mean, I think they've got a number of players who are ascending. Corbin Carroll is one of the best young players in the game. I mean, that's the team that I think probably I think it'll be tight. Padres and Diamondbacks, I think, are the 2 teams that make it interesting. Rockies are the worst team in all of baseball, hands down.
Yeah. I think last year nobody saw the D-backs coming. This year I think everybody's sort of on guard for them. And we'll see how that impacts them.
Them using their speed to get around everywhere. That's not going to be. It's not catching anybody off guard. You're right. So it's gonna be interesting for 2, 3, 4. That's all I know. 1 is going to be very, very simple.
we hope so. If not, this show's going to get really interesting in the middle.
Yeah, it will.
Extremely interesting. Well, Mace, thank you so much for joining us. We are extremely happy that you were here, and we are looking forward to having you more often here as the season gets started. The Dodgers are on their way to Seoul. Did Shohei Ohtani hard launch his wife?
Yeah, they're Instagram official now.
Yeah.
We'll be getting
Instagram official. Did that happen?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
see the
Yeah.
pictures today.
Oh wow, I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, he's their IG official now.
So check out the story on Shohei's post. We'll be talking about it throughout the day on ESPN LA. Again, just thank you to Mason. Thank you to LAX because, of course, as always, the Blue Review is presented by LAX, transforming the travel experience, reducing traffic daily, saving guests time. And if you want to learn more information, find that out at flylax.com/transforminglax. Mason, thank you so much. We will see you
Absolutely.
soon.
Thanks, guys.
Marcus,
Cool.
thank you for being here. Greg Bergman, I've been Parker Bell. This is the Blue Review.
See ya.